Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, and thank you once again for joining me for another Card Making for Beginners 101. Today, I will be talking about scoring and paper cutters. Of course, click on the bell so you will not miss those sessions. So, to begin, I want to show you one that I've had for a while. This is actually a Martha Stewart. Um, it is a pretty handy and convenient, you know, board to carry. I like it a lot because it doesn't take up much space on your table. So and of course it extends. So it depends on how wide it can do. I believe 12 by 12. But I usually use it for the standard size paper cardstock. Now, what I like about this one, it does have a little compartment in the back here where it stores a couple of blades. Now, if I take, well, let's see. Here is one that's actually on. These are how the blades look. What it came with originally was, I think there was an extra paper cutter and there was a scoring blade. Now, right now I have the scoring blade on here, in the sense that I find it easier to use this to score than another one that I got from her, which is a scoring board. For some reason I find it hard to stay in the grooves when I'm going to score. Now for those of you who may not know what scoring is, I'm going to show you. So let me just grab a piece of paper so that I can show you what scoring is. So say this is just a plain old piece of paper. Basically what the scoring does, let me flip this. And I'm going to just turn this down just a little bit so you can see. Okay. So basically, depending on, whether it's half, wherever you want to score, it's, depending on what you're doing, you just pretty much, line it up, close it down, and then run the scoring blade through. Now, if you look clearly, there is a line in here. That's what the scoring is. And then you would just basically fold and voila. So that's what the scoring is. So I use this for the scoring. I used to use it for cutting the cardstock, which was convenient. But what happened was when I finished cutting, then I had to go ahead and change the blade, which I felt was a little inconveniencing. So I just, for now, I'm keeping this as my scoring tool. Then there are other types of cutting boards out there. And some of them do come with two different like a scoring and a cutting blade on there. You could definitely go through YouTube and you should be able to see a few more types of cutting boards and things like paper cutters, sorry, because I'm sure there are other card makers out there who have videos about some more types of paper cutters. Now this one, I think I got this from Walmart. This is what we call a guillotine paper cutter. Now this one locks in, so it has this little projected piece here, so you kind of gently push it out and up. Now this is a very sharp blade here, so you have to be extra careful. This doesn't score, but it does cut the cardstock very good. I like this one because if you notice, it has all the different what you call it, markings on it that allows you to cut the paper up to the size you want. And I'm just going to go ahead and just show you another demonstration. I'm going to use another piece of paper here. Okay, so say I have this piece of paper and I want to maybe cut it down to maybe 4 inches or what have you, based on the marking. And I'm going to try to show you this as best as possible. Let me just I don't want it to fall off. So basically I would line it up with the forehair, make sure it's actually lined up with the with this 90-degree angle here before I cut, and then that gives you a pretty crisp cut. I use it to do cut mainly everything else as far as cutting paper. So if you notice, it's a very crisp edging. So I use this one. There are different type of guillotine cutters out there. There's some that are more industrial type, things like that. The only difference with those of this size is they take up a lot of space, on your table. So if you have, like with me, I'm working with minimal space right now, I have to move everything out of the way in order so that I can use it. And that's fine, because I mean, you have to do what you have to do from time to time. But this is one of those this one is by Fiskars, which is pretty good. Now talking about scoring, like I mentioned, this is a Martha Stewart scoring. There are different types out there, and of course you can also, I'm sure there are people on YouTube or card makers on YouTube who also talk about scoring boards and things like that. Now this one comes with, usually it has a little tool that you can use to get in the grooves. And of course, if you notice, it has the measurements and everything here. So depending on what you need to measure, you do have the guide. I think it also does envelopes as well, but I don't use it much. But just to give an example, say if I just wanted to, this is like four inches across, and I want to do it like half. You usually place it here, and then you just run the tool down, and that's how it scores. So if you notice, this one, for some reason it did pretty good. And then you go ahead and fold on the and then you can use this as well, just to kind of help to flatten it out. And then you have, so this is another type of, is another type of scoring board, but it doesn't cut. So again, there are lots of different types of paper cutters out there. Some are more convenient, some are just take up a lot of space, but basically you're going to look for the one that works for you best. And once you find that one that you like the most, then you just stick with it. But when you're choosing paper cutters, just be very careful, because some of them are pretty cheaply made, and it may fall apart. So if you're going to invest in a paper cutter, get one that is good and sturdy from the get-go. The most you might need to do is to change blades, but other than that, I mean, you're pretty good. Because when I use the Martha Stewart one, cutting and scoring board, what I found was after a while, my cutting blade for the paper became a little dull. So when I did run it over the cardstock, it would have like a little fuzzy edging. So what I did very carefully, I went ahead, my husband told me to try something, and I did. So maybe you might want to try it, but be very careful, because you can get cut easily. Is to just get a little bit of oil. Maybe you can use a Q-tip or something, maybe and then just lightly clean the blade, and when you're done, just wipe it off very carefully again, because again, you can get cut very easily. The blades are sharp. Once you do that, what I have found was it started cutting crisp again, so that's an option. But I also went ahead and bought a couple more blades, which were pretty good for me too. So this is basically just an introduction to cutting paper cutters and scoring boards. If you have any questions about that, just go ahead and leave a comment below, and I'll be more than happy to answer any you may have. Even when you go to the craft websites, you would also see information about the different cutting paper cutters and scoring boards and things like that. So again, it's entirely up to you as far as preference. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, and join me again next week. I want to talk about washi tape and also about paper punches. So most likely I might do paper punches next week, which is this is an example of one of those. So stay tuned, and I shall talk to you next week. Have a blessed and safe week, everyone. Bye bye.